Hey, Shalom Markins, Rakam Akapash from Jim Eslani, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bashem Chakwadash. Want to give double honors unto the elders, the apostles of GMS, and Shalom out there to the hopeful elect, pushing his truth in all sincerity. Back again with another video, and I'm going to title this one, Satan Loves to Sucker Punch, right? Because, at times, things might not be happening, against you. Things might be seeming to be going, fairly okay for the most part, in this walk of ours, man. And then, Satan will be sent, because best believe Satan is sent, right, by the Heavenly Father, right, to test your to test your patience, to test your mettle, your mind, right. And he will just come and out of nowhere bring some shit onto your plate that you now got to deal with, and that's part of the course, part of the path of being in this ministry, being in this truth. All right, this, Paul speaks about being able to obey and to abound. Sometimes things are going all right. Sometimes things are not going so all right for you, and you have to be able to deal with the rough and the smooth. But Satan does like to take you um out of those moments of relative quietness, so to speak, in your life, to have you stressing, right? But that's his job, right? So we can't get too mad because that's his job in it. But he loves to come out of nowhere, just hit you with something, and now you got shit to deal with, and it's causing you a bit of discomfort, right? And it's something that the elders and the apostles always told us, man. Get used to be comfortable in being not comfortable. Something, roughly paraphrasing what they said, because that's what that's just what it's like in it, and so I just wanted to do this quick video on that, basically things that's happening with me, at this moment in time. But yeah, man, that's what Satan does in it. And all you can do is bear it and move forward with it. Because eventually you're gonna come out the other side, you know. So there's no point caving into the pressure or to the stress or whatever that Satan's trying to put on you, right? We got to do this work first and foremost, right? Serve Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai and not be distracted. Even though you got to deal with it, so it's not like you can't ignore it. You have to deal with it. But for our mind not to be taken away from the main goal, which is to teach and push this word. So I just want to go into a few scriptures, and I'm going to start here in First Peter chapter 5 and verse 8, and it says, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour." Right. So he's always going to be around testing brothers, trying to find different angles for you brothers, because it's not the first time you've encountered him. He's hit you up with different things over the years, depending on how long you've been in this truth. And it will come back again. If the devil is, if not anything, persistent, right? And you overcome him at one point. You got through some other shit that he put your way, and he will leave you for a season. And then during those times, things might seem to be going okay for a bit, but be sure he'll be back. I'll be back, right? He'll be back, and this time with a new a new angle that he gonna try and mess you with, mess you up with. All right, so he's always out here trying to take away the Lord's elect, which we know it can't be done, right? So just take confidence and know whatever you're going through that you're gonna get through it. If you really believe that you're a part of this thing, you believe you're the elect of the hopeful elect, then or should know that you'll get through the other side of it. All right, so don't be too discouraged or too disheartened, and to throw in the towel or anything like that. When you think this truth is too burdensome for you, it's not. Well, it is if you're not the elect. Obviously you're gonna tap out in it, but if you're of the elect, it's not too burdensome. You can handle it. You can manage it, and the Lord will have it so, right? Even if you can't manage it necessarily, the Lord will, which we're gonna get into. We're gonna pull that scripture up. The Lord gonna make a way for you to deal with it, right? So it just soldier on ahead, and eventually you'll come out the other side of it, man. And things can return back to a relative state of norm. But yeah, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. Okay, so we always have to be aware of that. And like I said, when things are going okay, expect a call from Satan, right? He's gonna turn up, man, and fuck up your day, right? You're waiting for it, you know. This is Sirach chapter 2, verse 1. It says, "My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation." Right? So you're going to have these moments in time where you're going to be tested. Right? And so, this is one of the first things we learned and understood coming into this truth, man, because you have to count the cost before you decide that you're going to, not that you decide to turn and serve the Lord, because that's not really how it works. The Lord is ultimately the one choosing you, right? As opposed to the other way around. But, ultimately it's in you already whether or not you're going to serve the Lord. All right. But before you make this vow, essentially, right, that you're going to serve the Lord, you're going to turn to the Lord and follow his commandments, and do the service, do the work, right? You have to count the cost. You have to know what this entails, and our elders and apostles do a very good job of letting us know what this is really all about. Okay, it's not about the gimmicks and the fucking cookouts. You know what I mean? It ain't about all of that, right? This is about work, right? This is about being tested, your faith being tested. This isn't a social club. This isn't a get rich, I don't know what you want to call it, enterprise or whatever. This isn't none of those things. Okay, we are doing this through the fear of the Lord, right? We're doing this because we want to be delivered and saved from the judgment. We're doing this because we want to do what is our rightful duty to do as Israelites, right? We do this because we want to be in the kingdom of our Lord Yahweh Shai. We want righteousness, we want peace, and these different types of things, right? This is what we do this for. We're not looking for worldly possessions. We're not doing it because we want fame. We want to be known as the greatest elder that ever lived, the greatest grand high priest, and all these madness. We're not here for that. All right. We want to do what's right and serve the Lord and be delivered. All right. And we already know that we're going to receive all that we have forsaken in the kingdom. Right. That's the Lord's payment for our service. Right. But yeah, you're going to be tested, throughout this thing. So that's what we know. Our elders and apostles make sure that we know that you're going to be tested. Your life is going to be going to be shitty at times, because Satan's going to come around and deal with you a certain way, man, and have you struggling at times. Now you're trying to keep your head above water sometimes, right? But it's a test from the Lord. Like I said, the Lord sends Satan there to test you, to test your resolve, right? And like I say, if you believe, then you can fight. You can fight these temptations. You can fight Satan because you're equipped, right? You're equipped with the armor of this, which is this word, right? The helmet and the shield, right? We're equipped to deal with him, even though even though you don't think so, maybe at times, right? But your faith, your strength, right, can withstand the fiery darts of the devil, as the scriptures say, right? So that's what you got to focus on, just surviving it and getting through to the other side of things, right? But yeah, it says, "My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation," right? Set thy heart aright, okay, which is your mind, and can constantly endure, right? Endure suffering. In my previous video, I was talking about, the suffering, the patience, okay, and how waiting or suffering, our suffering is gonna be worth it in the end, right? So set thy heart aright and constantly endure, and make not haste in time of trouble, right? Don't flee because you can't handle it, or when trouble comes, you have to meet it head on, kind of thing, right? You have to face it, okay, and stand strong and withstand, right? All the troubles that come upon you, right? Cleave unto him, the him being the Most High, Yahweh Shai, right? The Most High and Yahweh Shai, and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end, right? So like I said, there's a reward, and we're going to be increased at our last end, right? We're going to be rewarded for our service. Scripture speaks about them that stood so stiffly for the name of the Lord, right? That is going to be the elect, right? And so in the times of trouble, they're not going to run, they're not going to give in, right? They're gonna stand strong, stand firm, right? It says, whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully. And that's what I mean. You can't get too mad. Satan's just doing his job at the end of the day, right? He's a perfect creature in his own, in his own lot, right? He's just doing his job, all right. And yeah, he's a bit of an asshole, a bit of an asshole. He'll fuck up shit for you, but at the end of the day, the Lord sent him to test you, man. So it's only of the Lord, okay. So yeah, take whatever is brought upon thee cheerfully. So we do it best we can. We kind of just grin and bear it. Gritting our teeth on you, motherfucker. Because Satan comes in different guises, man. It could be someone, a boss from work, or someone from work, or it could be anybody basically. But Satan come in different ways, in different forms, different angles. Like I said, to mess with you, man. And you just kind of have to, dig in deep and bear it. Without losing your scruples. It says, whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a lower state, right? So when shit ain't going so good, when you're dragged down dealing with some shit, right? Because like I said, it's not always like that. You're not always at the bottom, like you're dealing with shit all the time, but at times you are. Okay, probably more often than not. But sometimes the Lord does have mercy, and so you're not always dealing with fucking crazy shit all the damn fucking time. Okay, but other times, yeah, you're gonna have to deal with it. Verse 5 says, "For gold is tried in the fire, okay, and is an acceptable men in the fire of adversity." Right, so men are tested in the fire of adversity. Right, the Lord loves to see you fight. Right, to prove your worth, to prove the value, your value. Right, because gold is a valuable metal. Right, worldwide, acknowledged. Right, and so gold is purified in the fire. It's tested for its purity. The purer it is, the more valuable it is, right? It's the same with men. Okay, the elect, they are being tried by adversity. Okay, to prove that we are worthy of being the Lord's elect. And like I said, ultimately the elect are chosen, and so they're going to bear everything that's going to be thrown their way. Right. So if you believe you're of the hopeful elect, then you must believe also that you can deal with it, or it will be dealt with. Okay, somehow, some way, it will be handled. Not to lose faith and lose hope and all that stuff, right? So believe in him, okay, the Heavenly Father and Yahweh Shai, and he will help thee, right? Order thy way aright and trust in him. Okay, the Lord will ultimately help us through everything that we need to get through. Because realistically, when you look at it, all the things that lie ahead of us, okay, the time of Jacob's trouble, the hour of temptation, all these other things, right? Ultimately, we can't do this of ourselves. We can't really succeed of our own. Okay, it's going to take the Lord to defend us in that day. Okay, so we're heavily reliant on him for to succeed. All right. It says, believe in him and he will help thee. Order thy way aright and trust in him. Ye that fear the Lord, wait for his mercy, and go not aside lest ye fall. Ye that fear the Lord, believe him, and your reward shall not fail. Right? Ye that fear the Lord, hope for good, and for everlasting joy and mercy. Right? So you just gotta believe, man, that everything's gonna be made right. Okay, whatever it is that you're going through, it's gonna be made right. The Lord's gonna deal with it. He's gonna give you the strength to deal with it. And I'm gonna come out the other side stronger. Ready for the next one, because there will be a next one. All right, and like I said, Elders and Apostles made that very clear to us. Coming into this truth. And now I know 16, almost 16, well, yeah, about 16 years down the line for me. You face many different things. When you come in, you're gonna face some things, but again, those men that are in it before us, they've seen and faced more. Okay, they've been tested and tried more, and refined more, perfected more. right? So we have to. That's why we have respect for our elders and our apostles, man, because they just been doing it longer than us, so they've seen and gone through many more things than us. But this is something that they prepare you for. The elders and apostles prepare you for in their teachings, which is not something that these other groups really do. Right? They make you feel like it's it's all about having a fucking Israelite party, man. It's about movie productions and shit. Weddings and whatever. No, it's not about that. You know. Verse 10 says, "Look at the generations of old and see, did ever any trust in the Lord and was confounded, or did any abide in his fear and was forsaken, or whom did he ever despise that called upon him?" Right? The Lord never forsook us, man. Those that were faithful, right? For the Lord is full of compassion and mercy, long suffering and very pitiful, and forgiveth sins and saveth in the time of affliction. Right? And we're gonna need that in that time, in the time of Jacob's trouble. Okay. And even now, brothers need help with shit, man. Brothers need to get through stuff, and they're facing certain things. Right? They need the Lord's help. Right? And that's why prayer and fasting is a powerful tool that we use. To be heard of the Lord. To increase or hasten the outcome. To get us through it. And I'll read on for a little bit more. It says, verse 12 says, "Woe be to the fearful hearts and faint hands, and the sinner that goeth 2 ways. Woe unto him that is faint-hearted, for he believeth not. Therefore shall he not be defended." Right? So you have to believe, man. Faith is the key cornerstone of all of this. The belief in Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. The belief that he is and none else, man. Right? If you don't have faith, you can't do anything in this truth. All right. So woe unto you that have lost patience. Again, I was speaking about patience in my last video. What will you do? What will you do when the Lord shall visit you? Right? If you wasn't patient, you gave up. Like, what are you gonna say? Oh, well, I didn't think you was gonna come, or I didn't want to wait no more. Like, the Lord's gonna be like, well, it's gonna be one of those ones where, that disappointed dad acts. You know what I mean? And we're shaking your head at you. But the Lord's not only just gonna shake your head at you, man. He's gonna punish you, man. Right? Because you men that fell off and gave up when trouble came. When Satan came around, you couldn't resist him or whatever. Then you're gonna fall with the rest of the the wicked and the 2/3 man of Israel. Okay. So they that fear the Lord will not disobey his word, and they that love him will keep his ways. They that fear the Lord will seek that which is well pleasing unto him, and they that love him shall be filled with the Lord. They that fear the Lord will prepare their hearts and humble their souls in his sight, saying, "We will fall into the hands of the Lord and not into the hands of men, for as his majesty is, so is his mercy." All right. And this is just an example from Sirach chapter. No, that's what I just read. Job. That's what I was trying to get. Yeah, this is an example from the book of Job. Obviously, this story is here for this very purpose. All right, because Satan definitely came around and sucker punched Job. Right, and this is exactly how I said it is, man. Because the Lord is the one that sent him to Job, just as the Lord sends Satan against us. Okay, not for our destruction. If you're the elect, it's not for your destruction. If you believe of the elect, Satan is out here just trying to accomplish an impossible task, trying to make you break. Right, but no one can take the Lord's elect from him. All right, so Satan's out here doing an impossible task ultimately. Right, just the same as it was with Job. He was never going to break Job, but Satan was sent, and Satan believed he could do the job as he's meant to. All right, but ultimately Satan failed. Even though he put hell on Job, all kinds of hell he put on Job. Right, he couldn't break Job. He was never going to be able to. All right, so that's how it is, and it's the same with us. The Lord's going to put things in our way, send Satan to bring us hell and shit. But ultimately, we got to believe, that he can't overthrow us, man. So I'm going to read this. I'm going to read from verse 13 here. from Job 1, right? It says, and there was a day when his sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine in their oldest brother's house, right? So obviously I'll skip some of the story, but obviously Satan and the Most High made a deal, made a bet, and Job was a righteous man, right? He had very much. He was greatest of the men in the East, I think it said, or something like that, right? And so yeah, things were going good for Job, right? Job was blessed with many things, right? And things were going all right for Job. Again, in comes Satan out of nowhere to afflict him and to put hell upon him. All right, so it happens like that sometimes, man. Not only when you weak or in a particular type of state, but yeah, Satan can come knocking at any time, and Satan loves to try and bring you down a peg or two, and so does the Lord. The Lord, likes to try and keep you in a humble spirit, man. So it needs to happen from time to time, man. All right, pardon me. All right, so yeah, and there was a day when his sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house, and there came a messenger unto Job and said, the oxen were plowing and the asses feeding beside them, and the Sabians fell upon them. Right, so Satan, basically riled up the Sabians to come take away their flocks and their beasts and stuff, right? And it says, they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. Right? It's just, they killed all the servants. Right? It says, while he was yet speaking, they came also another and said, the fire of God is falling from heaven, and have burned up the sheep and the servants and consumed them, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. Right? So fire came and burnt these servants and these cattle up, these sheep and that. Verse 17 says, while he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, the Chaldeans made out 3 bands and fell upon the camels and have carried them away, and yea, and slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. Right? So in just this one moment in time, Job was hit with a lot. He was hit with a lot, man. Right? And it's like, what the fuck is happening? Like, I was having a good day. I was having a good day up until right just now. And all this is happening. Not even just one thing. All this was happening. There's a lot to take in, as you could probably imagine. Right, but yeah, Satan came with a sucker punch and just hit man hard. Right? Left him fucking dazed. So it's like, damn. Verse 18, and while he was yet speaking, there also came another. So they hadn't even finished yet. Right? He hadn't even taken all this in yet, but more was to happen, right? And said, thy sons and thy daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness and smote the 4 corners of the house, and it fell upon the young men, and they are dead. And I only am escaped alone to tell thee. Alright, so now it's children now. Right? And obviously it was peak already, but this, ice the cake or whatever how you want to say it, right? It's verse 20. It said, Then Job arose and rent his mantle, right? Because my man was distressed. He was in disbelief, man. He was messed up, man. Right? And shaved his head and fell down upon the ground and worshipped. Right? But what did he do? In that moment in time, what did he do? He prayed. He prayed to the Heavenly Father, man. And said, naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall return hither. The Lord gave, and the Lord taketh away. Right? He remained spiritual for the whole situation. Right? He remained spiritual the whole situation. He understood. Like, Job would have been blessed so much. Right? By the Lord, right? He gave these things, right? It's very possible, right, that the Lord can take these things away. If he have given it, he can take it away. Right? And the only thing he could do was praise and worship the Heavenly Father, man, and beg for mercy. That's all he could do. Because he's the only one that can change what has happened. Right? Unlike his wife, who was obviously angry. Well, reasonably so, but like, she went into to curse the Most High and die. How would that help? How would cursing the Heavenly Father? You're just making shit worse for yourself, man. That's just stupidity, and that's why he said you speak like the foolish women. right? Job fully understood, you know, what was at play, or what things are. Right? He wasn't acting emotional. He was being spiritual about the situation, right? Which is not always easy to do, right? It's not always easy to do. Women in the flesh, right? So it's not always easy to do, but you have to keep in mind these things when shit's going down. It's like you have to really just sit there and meditate on it for a bit to take it in first. And you're like, shit, man. And then you think about, oh, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna deal with this? And really, sometimes there's nothing you fucking can do about certain things. Sometimes, it's just the truth. Sometimes there's something that you could do. Most I will give you the wisdom to do something about it. But sometimes there's nothing you can do. And literally, all you can do, the only things you have available to you is to fast and to pray on a situation. And that's it, man. You have to leave it into the hands of the Lord, which we read it a moment ago. Leave it in the hands of the Lord and pray for his mercy. And hopefully that is in the Lord's plans for you. If not, then it won't be, and you have to accept that too, and just move on, carry on with life, right? Doing what you're supposed to be doing. And like I said, it's not easy, but we can't lose sight of what we're here for, right? Our whole duty of man is to serve the Lord, to fear the Lord, right? And when you think this life is about yourself, right? Everything's about you. You're the center of the universe type shit. Then obviously, like, you ain't right anyway. And you're gonna act emotional. You're gonna feel hard done by. You're gonna feel this and that, and curse the Most High, and like the woman, and go about doing your own thing. Okay, kind of like Cain. He's just doing his own thing, right? But these things are not right. Anyway, it says and said, naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return hither. The Lord gave, and the Lord have taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Right? Yahweh. Right? In all this, in all that is that had happened to him, right? It says Job sinned not, nor charged God foolishly. He didn't blame the Most High. Right? Even though ultimately the Most High was on behind it, yeah, sure. But he didn't transgress to curse the Most High. Because he understood, right, the nature of things, right, and that all things belong to the Lord. So at the end of the day, this is the Most High's creation, right? We don't have no ultimate say in how he decides to run things. Everybody out here is, wants a God that they can accept and that agrees with their views. All these Christians got their own different God in their own little minds about who their God is and what they do. There's only one power, right? And you have to accept him for how he is. Ain't the other way around, right? And this is how the Lord gets down sometimes, man. You have to accept that, right? And know to do righteous in times of adversity. Because like I said, if you can't do that, you're only just making things worse for yourself ultimately. There's nothing to gain by lashing out against the Heavenly Father. There's nothing to gain there. You think you're gonna feel better? Nah, you're gonna end up worse off. I guarantee you. All right. So yeah, Job is an example of this when shit happens, man, from out of nowhere, from the left, and just takes you by surprise. All right. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13. So there have no temptation taking you, but such as is common to man. Right? We all suffer these things, temptation, and having to deal with shit, right? But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that you are able. Right? Who's in control of this temptation? Right? The Most High ultimately. Right? He gonna send things your way. He gonna send Satan and demons or whatever your way to test you, right? To deal with these temptations, right? So the Most High is basically the one setting the difficulty level for you, right? And what he's saying is that I ain't gonna give you a difficulty level, greater than what you can handle. So by that knowledge and knowing that, anything you face, you should be confident, even though it'd be difficult, right? You should be confident that you can see it through, you can see it out, you know, that you can deal with it. Okay, either you persevere with it and get, or the Most High just sits, just performs a miracle, essentially, right? Has something happen that alleviates the situation, okay, that you had no control over, kind of thing. That's a miracle. You might think that's a bit mundane, ain't nothing, glamoury about it, but it's a miracle. The fact that you got out of a situation that you had really no ability to change or influence, that's a miracle, man. And now you ain't in that fucking crazy ass situation anymore. That's a miracle, right? There's always miracles happening, whether large or small. Miracles happen all the time. If you're looking at it, if you know what I mean, you're paying attention. Miracles are always happening. It don't need to be as mad as part in the sea. You know what I'm saying? But the miracles are always happening, right? And so we thank the Lord for that. For those things, man. For His mercy and for His help. So They have no temptation taking you, but as such is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it. Right. So we should, when we hit these obstacles and these situations, man, we should have confidence still, even though it's daunting, right? Because things can be daunting, man. But we should have confidence, to know that whatever it is, it'll be all right. The Lord will make it so. This is Proverbs chapter 24, verse 16. So, for a just man falleth 7 times and riseth up again, but the wicked shall fall into mischief, right? So, like I said, you're gonna hit hurdles and shit, but the whole thing of faith is fighting and enduring, right? And so when these things happen, yeah, you might get knocked for 6, man. You might get dazed and whatever. You might, your hand might touch the canvas. Shit, you might fall on your face. But the point is to carry on the fight, carry on the battle. Because if you're persistent enough, you'll get through to the other side of it. Okay, you will overcome. Okay, you just have to be persistent and not be afraid to continue fighting. This is Proverbs 24. Oh, so it's same chapter, but up at the 10th verse, right? So if thou faint in the day of adversity, right? Because I say adversity is going to come. The Most High is going to test you with that fire of adversity. So it will come. But if thou faint in the day of adversity, so whenever that is, I mean, we know there's going to be like a day, like the time of Jacob's trouble is going to be that time where the adversity is going to be like heavy and hard. And that hour of temptation is going to be heavy and hard. But you're going to face adversity on the way there. Because we all face it, right? So when that adversity comes, when Satan comes and tests you and tries you, right, and you fail, or you fall, you faint, okay, and you don't get up, you throw in the towel, you tap out, you you sit on your stool, you don't want to get up at the, you don't want to go on no more. Okay, it says, if thou faint in the day of adversity, thy strength is small, and the strength is really not your physical might it's talking about. It's really talking about your spirit, your faith, your mentality, right? You're weak. You are weak. Your strength is small, right? Because you're not able to endure. You're not able to persist. You're not able to get up and face it until it's defeated, right? So what, you go down. It's not the end of the fight. When you hit these fucking hurdles, it's not the end of the fight, right? There's gonna be another round, right? And another round, and another round, and you might win the next round. Hey, you might lose the next round. You know what I mean? You might go on and win the next 3 rounds. You know, and until that final bell is rang, obviously I'm using boxing terms right now, but when that last bell is rang for the fight to be over, okay, you're gonna be tallied up, man. The judges are gonna look at the score, you know, make the scorecards, and they're gonna present the results. Right? Mosai is that judge, right? He's gonna tally up, you know, your the rounds or whatever, and they're gonna decide whether or not you've won or lost. Too many men are too quick to throw in the towel because they believe they've already lost. You know, they can't deal with the situation. Okay, but you don't know that unless you get up and keep fighting. Right? Something might happen. And in our case, something will happen. Okay, that puts the odds in our favor. Okay, that turns the fight around for us. Even in those moments where you think, fuck, I'm fucked right now. Right? The Most High will help us. Okay, when we need it the most, to make sure we get to the end of that fight. Okay, or that we knock out our opponent. You know, because only Yahushua is the one that's going to do the knockout blow. But you know, the Lord's going to get us to the end of that fight. Right? And we're going to, and you know, you didn't know, but the game was rigged. the fight was rigged. We was going to win anyway, right? But if you throw in the towel, there's no way you could win. You know what I mean? You can't imagine that. Imagine you using a fight. You didn't know the game was rigged, but like you go into the fight, and all you had to do was get to the last round. All you had to do was survive to the last round, and you would have won, right? Regardless of what went on, right? You would have just won by proxy, right? You would have just won, right? By default, rather, right? Imagine that. You just decide, oh, you know what? I can't deal with this guy. You know, he's too fast. He's too strong, right? And you just like you lose the will to fight, and you just give up. Fuck, the thing was on a plate for you. The win was on a plate for you, and yeah, you might have to get bashed up a bit. Yeah, you might have to survive and stuff. You know, maybe do a bit of dancing around the ring. You know, to survive, and yeah, you might have to do all of that. But you was gonna win, but you quit. And so how can anybody? No one, like the ref can't help you with that. The ref can't help you with that now. You quit. Like everyone just saw you quit. You can't go claim the win that was there for you. You just quit. Right? So you're out of here. Right? But that's what this is like. The game is rigged for the elect to win, right? And so if you like in this truth now or in this ministry, and you get to a point where you feel like you can't fight no more, you're stupid. But it just means you're not of the elect, innit? But you're stupid. Because the game is rigged for you to win. And you just, I don't know. Some man can't even get past the second round. You know, first round, they can't even get past it. They went dropping out already. But like, they just give up. But all you have to do is survive, put on a show type thing, and you would have won. And it's even more damn stupid if like you're again in the 11th round, or you're in the 11th round, you got 1 round to go, and you be like, no, I can't do this anymore, man. You can't survive the next 3 minutes. You can't do 3 more minutes. For a guaranteed win. You're crazy. You're absolutely crazy, man. Okay, you better put your life on the line. Go out and just show type of shit, right? If you know you're gonna win, and what you're gonna win is craziness, right? The kingdom, it's crazy what you're gonna win, right? You better fight to your last fucking breath in that last round, man. Because as long as you survive it, fuck it, man. You're gonna be in the kingdom. and this man's gonna, our adversaries are gonna lose, and we're gonna be, we're gonna be revived. We're gonna be changed into gods and all kinds of shit. Like you think, you ain't gonna give everything. Of course you should be giving everything, man. So you fight into the very fucking end. You got a guaranteed fucking win, man. Right? A lot of people are not ready to put it on the line. That's the problem. Oh, it's too difficult. Oh, my baby mom's left me. Oh, all the different kinds of excuses. I'm fucking broke. I'm tired of being broke. All these excuses come up in a man's mind, and they just fall out, man. And that goes into the parable of the seeds, sown on stony ground and good ground, and so on and so forth. let me grab that now actually. Stony. Well, let's see. Yeah, parable of the sower, right? Matthew chapter 13, verse 18 says, "Hear ye therefore the parable of the sower. When anyone, when anyone heareth the word of the kingdom and understandeth not, then cometh the wicked one and catcheth away that which is sown in his heart. This is he which receives seed by the wayside. But he that received the seed in stony places, the same is he that heareth the word and anon with joy receive it," right? So you take this truth and you're happy with, you find out you're an Israelite, all the things that I promised to you and blah 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 blah. Some of you are sold by gimmicks, so sometimes you enjoy the whole fact that you got a whole fucking community of Israelites doing stupidity, and you want to be in on it, So you do all that sort of shit too, but basically you're still not in this truth, right? But it says, "Yet he have not rooted himself." These men are not really rooted, so they're into the gimmicks, the glamour and all that shit, right? They're not really rooted, right? Because they're not in a firm foundation. You know what I mean? Especially you're not even teaching the name and stuff like that. But during for a while, when tribulation or persecution ariseth, right, when the adversity comes, when the tests come and the hurdles come, and you're getting slapped about, and you find it difficult, right? But you haven't got the strength, the faith to carry on getting slapped about, right? To take those blows, right? You just I want to give in, which I get it, man. It's not nice, isn't it? But or we know, if you believe, right, that we've got a guaranteed win. Guaranteed win. If you can receive, if you believe it, right? And this is why everything we do boils down to faith. Okay, that faith is what's going to get you through to the very end of things, right? You'll enjoy all the things. The Most High give you that special gift of faith, man. You'll enjoy all the things, man. Right? Overcome all the obstacles. All right? And then cometh the wicked one and catcheth away that which was sown in his heart. This is he which received the seed by the I'm going backwards here. Verse 21. Yet he have not root in himself, but endure for a while. When tribulation or persecution arises because of the word, by and by he is offended. He also that receives seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word, and the care of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the world and become unfruitful. Okay, that's a lot of these camps right now. IUIC, Sakari offshoots with House of Bread, Genesis, I don't know the other ones. ISUPK, they've all turned it the same way. So they're becoming unfruitful, and like I said, the proof is in the doctrines, man. They're coming out and bug that doctrines every other day. It seems, you know what I'm saying? And they're progressing themselves in the world, getting more attention, getting more money, and that's the goal for them, right? But he that receiveth seed into the good ground is he that heareth the word and understandeth it. They have true understanding, right? And that's what our elders and apostles have given us, true understanding, right, of what this ministry is all about. It which also beareth fruit and bringeth forth some 100-fold, some 60, and some 30. Okay, so like I said, if you faint in the day of adversity, then your strength is small, because you don't believe, you don't have the faith to carry on going. You don't think it's worth it anymore because you're feeling too fucked up, too in pain or whatever. It's too much for you to bear. But if that's the case, then you're just showing yourself that you're not of the elect, and then ultimately on this side at least, this thing's not for you. This is Micah chapter 7 verse 9. It says, "I will bear the indignation of the Lord because I have sinned against him." Right? And we're all in this boat, because none of us are perfect, right? So we're all in this boat. And so the same way Job understood, look, the Lord does good and evil, man, right? And we might not understand necessarily the whys the Lord does things, but the Most High has made it very clear to us, man, that we're all screw ups, right? We're not clean. We're not, we can't say we don't deserve the chastisement of the Lord, these punishments, that he sends. We can't say we don't deserve it. So we've got no right to get mad. You know, only to bear his chastisement. That's the only thing we can do, because we deserve the beatings. You know, he says, I will bear the indignation of the Lord because I have sinned against him until he plead my cause. So we're waiting for the Lord to have mercy upon us, basically, right? And execute judgment for me. He will bring me forth to the light, and I shall behold his righteousness. Right? So we have to bear the indignation of the Lord. Okay, not be angry and mad and you know, just give up and all this type of stuff, man. You have to just firms it. As I say, right? You have to just firms it, man. You know, I say it's not pleasant, but it's what you gotta do. Is it here? Yeah, it's here. Right, okay, so closing up with this, right? Hebrews chapter 12, verse 5 saying, Ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children. My son, despise not the chastening of the Lord, right? Despise or obey the indignation of the Lord, right? Don't despise the chastening of the Lord. Nor faint when thou art rebuked of him. Become weak, right? If thou faint in the day of adversity, thy strength is small, right? Don't faint, right? Like I say, you know, you feel fucked up and shit, but your job is to press on, right? So my son, despise not thou the chastening of the Lord, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him. For whom the Lord loveth, he chastiseth, or chasteneth, like you're right, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth, right? Because we're not perfect, we're not right, we ain't right, right? So we you know, the Lord is constantly correcting us, you know, chastening us, or making us go through things, man, to prove our worth, man. Like I said, to be proven that we are worthy of receiving the kingdom with his son Yahushua. Right, so all of this is pushing us closer to the path that we need to be on, and we have, you know, we have to go through adversity and stuff like that. Then that's what we need, right? To be able to say, yes, my son, that, you know, he's done this and that, he's gone through this and that, you know, he deserves the reward. He's earned it, you know, and so we have to go through these things. You know, we can't just, you know, yeah, I'm an Israelite, I'll just get the kingdom. On what merit? Yeah, it's been given to us by promise, but like the Lord ain't just gonna hand it over like that, right? That reminds me of something else. Word, Apocrypha. Yeah, I think it must be here. Yeah, right. Second Ezra chapter 7, verse let's see. I'm gonna read from verse 3, right? And I said, Speak on, my God. Then said he unto me, The sea is set in a wide place, that it might be deep and great. But the case, but the and put the case of the entrance were but put the case the entrance were narrow and like a river. Who then could go into the sea to look upon it and to rule it? Okay. So if he not went through the narrow, how could he come into the broad, right? There is also another thing. A city is building and set upon a broad field, and it is full of good things, which represents the kingdom. The entrance thereof is narrow and is set in a dangerous place to fall, like as if there were a fire on the right hand and on the left a deep water, and only one path between them both, even between the fire and the water, so small there could but one man go there at once. If this city now were given unto a man for inheritance, if he never shall pass the danger set before it, how shall he receive this inheritance? And I said, It is so, Lord. Then said he unto me, Even so also is Israel's portion. Right. So we have to go through the difficulties, man. We have to, you know, endure the chastising and the adversity to be able to receive the kingdom and the blessings, right? Even though they're going to be given to us regardless, but some of us are going to do this more honorably than others. Right, the elect are going to do things honorably, right, and walk into the kingdom with Yahweh Shai. Okay, others are going to have to be born unto us to be in the kingdom, right? Which, you know, there's an element of that where, you know, it's somewhat shameful, you know, but that's how it has to be for us. Okay, so we're not just gonna walk into the kingdom and nothing bad's gonna happen to us. No, the Lord's gonna chastise and prove our worth, man. You know. But back, am I here finished? Yeah. So back here, Hebrews chapter 12. Verse 7, right? So if you endure chastening, God dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the father chasteneth not, right? Because he wants his son to do correct. So you have to correct your son. So, but if you be without chastisement, whereof are all are partakers, then are you bastards and not sons, right? Because you don't a child you don't care about. It's not important that you chastise them or correct them, because what if they do? They're doing it. If they end up doing wrong and destroying themselves, that's the same way our law works, right? To love thy brother is to make sure that he follows the law such as commandments, right? Allowing him to do whatever the fuck he wants to do means you don't care about him, because you know he's going to be destroyed if he does that. It's the same way with the Lord. The Lord is just not going to let us do whatever and be succumb to wickedness and just do wickedness. If he's elect that he's trying to that he wants to save, he's going to make sure that they're being pushed along the right path. So they're going to receive correction. They're going to go through things. They're going to be made to prove their worth, right? So that they're worthy sons. Okay, just like Yahushua proved his worth. Okay, when he sacrificed himself for his people, man. Right? It's the same thing. We have to show our own sacrifice in a sense. Okay, to prove to the Most High. And so it speaks about giving our bodies as a living sacrifice, right? Which is our service, basically, right? And we have to do that regardless of what condition that we're in, regardless of what we're dealing with in our personal lives or whatever the case may be, Verse 9 says, furthermore, we have had fathers of our flesh which corrected us, and we gave them reverence. Shall we not much rather be in subjection unto the Father of spirits and live? All right. For they verily for a few days chastened us after their own pleasure, but he for our profit, that we might be partakers of his holiness. Now, no chastening of the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous, right? So, when you're going through it, man, because it ain't fucking nice. Of course, you'd rather be anywhere else right now, but the fact is, man, you got the shit to deal with, man, and you got to deal with it. So do your praying, do your fasting, use the wisdom that the Lord will give you, whatever it is that needs to be done, right? Sometimes, actually, all you can do is pray and fast. But you have to have the sight or belief that you're going to move past this at some point. So now no chastening for the present seems to be joyous, but grievous. Nevertheless, afterwards it yieldeth the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby. Wherefore lift up the hands which hang down and the feeble knees, and make straight paths for your feet, lest that which is lame be turned out of the way, but let it rather be healed. Yeah, that's pretty much it. All right. So yeah, we just have to deal with these things that come upon us, man, and do our best to deal with it in a spiritual way. It's not the end of the fucking world when shit happens, man. My greater fear is not ending up on a chariot, rather than the current problem that you may be facing. But that's my greatest fear, not finishing my work, not finishing my course, right? Not being delivered, not seeing, Yahushua return and the kingdom and all that stuff. I mean, like I say, we're going to be in the kingdom eventually anyway, but I'd rather, do it firsthand, rather than, be born into the kingdom. That is what is a world-ending situation. I can't, if faced with that. But like anything else, it's like, yeah, it's fucking, it's annoying. It's yeah, it's not the best, isn't it? But at the end of the day, our focus is trying to get into the kingdom. So, what you got to do, right? Okay, you know what you got to do. Okay, the scripture say, "Gird up thy loins." Right, you got to just gird up your loins and soldier on forward, and until we get to the other side of it, man. Right, so that we can get closer to our salvation. So we can be here ready for when Yahweh Shai turns up. And so he can, he can come down and tell us, you've done well. That's it. That's what it boils down to. And puts a crown up on your head. You're gonna go in the kingdom with him, and you're gonna be ruling. Everything's gonna be blessed, and all the hardship you faced ain't gonna be no shit no more. That's all behind you now. Okay, you ain't gonna have no hardships ahead of you. So yeah, man, that's what we got to work towards. But oh yeah, I'm gonna end it there anyway. But as I said, Satan, he's gonna come and do his thing. Sometimes when you least expect it, he's just gonna come and fuck up your shit. And you just gotta remain spiritual in those type of situations, man. And just deal with it, man. Concentrate on getting to the end of the journey. Getting to the goal, which is getting on the chariot, man, being delivered, being perfect in the eyes of the Heavenly Father and His Son. All right. But with that, I'm gonna say shalom, Lord. This has been edifying, and I'll catch you brothers and sisters on the next video. Until next time, I say shalom.